Yes, West Ham Network. The Sportsman listed every single forward signed by West Ham since 2010. And today we are going to be taking a look at the mad stories that accompanied their time at West Ham. Let's go. Yes, West Ham Network is Holly, and following the Sportsman's post that listed every forward we've signed since 2010, we're going to be running through some of the standout mad moments that have accompanied these players' time at West Ham. So there's a few iffy ones, I would say, on the list because you've got Samuelson classified as a midfielder and a few academy players that are also in there. But we're going to be running through the 56 forwards listed by them who have signed since 2010, like I said, up until this window. Now, something you'll spot which sums up our overall success with signing forwards is that 19 of these players have never scored a goal for us, not a single one. So here is the long list of forwards and the number of goals that they scored. And we're going to be chatting through just a few of the things that stand out to me from these players' time at West Ham. So we're going to start at the very beginning. Benny McCarthy, he once described Karen Brady as the devil with a set of tits, to which she replied, absolutely like battering him, to be honest, but saying he should stick to what he's good at, which is eating. And I'm pretty sure that is one of my favourite West Ham interactions of all time, which can never be explained. Mido decided to play for us for £1,000 a week in what Sullivan described as one of the most amazing deals of all time. Of course he did, because he wanted to come for the football and the chance to score and get goals and prove himself to us. And of course, he scored 0 goals for us. Ricardo Vazte got us back into the Premier League. His goal against Blackpool in the playoff final, which I'm sure we'll never forget. We've got Andy Carroll, who scored 34 goals in his time at West Ham. He actually scored the best goal I have ever seen live in my entire life when he scored the overhead kick against Palace. But despite being injured a lot of the time, when you actually look at him in comparison to a lot of our other players, he didn't actually do too badly in terms of goals. Then we've got Carlton Cole. There was another story of him, wasn't there? Because he was released and then re-signed in the same transfer window, which we can't say happens very often. So I've got the stats for this. On the 21st of May, 2013, the club announced that he'd be leaving at the end of the season. Then on September the 3rd, after struggling to sign a striker, we reapproached him, trying to get him to rejoin, but had concerns over his fitness. Then he trained with the club and we signed a short-term contract with him on October the 14th to sign him at the club until January 2014. So that doesn't happen very often with teams. And then who can forget Sakho and Enna Valencia's partnership? And then there was, of course, the incredible attempted escape of Diafra Sakho. So for anybody that doesn't remember, he told the club that he was going back to France, and then he tried to buy himself out of his own contract, which it turns out he couldn't afford, remaining a West Ham player. He then set up his own medical at Rennes without the club's knowledge, which he went on to pass. But there was, of course, no fee agreed because West Ham would have to be aware of what was happening for that to take place. So he stayed in France in the hope that he could force a move from the club, which then failed. So he came back to England to speak with West Ham. And all of this was unfolding on social media with live coverage. And everyone was like, he's coming back to England. What's he going to say with the club? But first, one of his friends had a horse racing at Chelmsford. So he made the club wait, stopping by the racecourse to be late before talks with the club. And I actually put money on that horse, which was called Siege of Boston, and it won. So thank you to Diafra Sakho for the money. Much appreciated. Then up next, we've got Antonio. Now, absolutely mad when you actually think about his journey at West Ham. He signed as a right winger, went on to play right back, and is now our top goal scorer playing as a striker. Not to forget, he also filmed himself dressed as a snowman on Christmas Day at training before managing to drive into somebody's house on the evening of Christmas. Still dressed, of course, as a snowman. And here we have those beautiful images of him at the training ground, having a laugh, and then him climbing out of a Lamborghini attached to a bush and a hedge on Christmas Day, because nothing says Merry Christmas quite like that. Then Simone Zaza, he scored the winner in a pre-season friendly against us for Juventus and then never ended up scoring for West Ham, which is rather ironic. We have got Jonathan Calleri, whose single goal for us, which happened in the 94th minute, cost someone £250,000 on Super 6, a goal that nobody would have seen coming. And we've got the bastard that was Arnautovic and his agent brother, who negotiated an extension after he wanted to leave, getting a huge pay rise, only to leave 6 months later. Very disappointing. Then Jordan Hugill, he didn't manage to get a goal for us, nor did he actually get a chance to walk out with all of the bubbles, which he spoke about so fondly in his signing video. It didn't work out for Sebastian Haller at West Ham either, with his 14 goals. But then he went to Ajax, where he scored 47 goals in 66 games. And in 2022, he finished 13th in the Ballon d'Or, which is quite a West Ham thing to happen. But he did not fit into our system. He was not the kind of striker who was going to be able to score goals in our setup. Bowen, who looks set to become our future captain, as we have found out recently. He's on 60 goals, chasing down the accolade of top goal scorer, as well as scoring the goal which saw us win the Conference League. So he is definitely a fan favourite, my favourite, to be honest, and also the one that I'm really, really excited to his captain, because I feel like he deserves it. The only question mark we have is over his style of leadership, because he's not a noisy one, but you don't necessarily have to be a noisy leader. We've got Felipe Anderson, who is actually the man with the greatest announcement video I think I've ever seen in West Ham history, with that Felipe feeling. For anyone that doesn't remember, it was all colourful. It was an amazing signing video. Felipe Anderson. And then, of course, we have Scamacca. So we had high hopes for Scamacca when he signed. He scored 8 goals in his time at West Ham, but unfortunately did not fit into our system and went on to win the Europa League with Atalanta. And then we have Danny Ings. So there we go. This leads us to our latest 3 forwards that we've signed. We have Luis Guilherme, we have Guilherme Summerville, and we have Nicholas Fullkrug. So that's 2 wingers and 1 striker, who we are hoping are going to revitalise our squad and help us work our way back to the European football that we so desperately want to achieve. And hopefully it'll be the beginning of a snowball effect where we just climb and climb. So here's wishing those new players a lot of luck, probably the same luck that a lot of players in this here list wish that they actually had. But yeah, what a mad list of eventful signings and their time at West Ham. You couldn't make it up, and it couldn't happen at any other club. I hope you've enjoyed. But if there are any other stories as well with any of these players that stand out to you that you think we've missed out, or if you've got a favourite, or if there are any moments that you think need sharing, drop them below in the comments section so that we can all have a read. That's all from me for now, but tune in at 5 p.m. where I'm going to be running through your Hammers headlines for today. Have a great one, and until next time, come on you Irons.